It is earnings season. IndusInd Bank has swung back to profit in Q1 after reporting losses last quarter. But let me bring in my colleague Vishwanath Nair, who has been tracking this very closely. Vishwanath, we're seeing poor asset quality weighing in on the bank's profit during Q1. And Q1 FY26 was the second quarter since the accounting issues with the bank's derivatives portfolio actually cropped up. Give us all the details and the highlights.
Right, Sanjana. So, as you pointed out, there is a 604 crore net profit. Of course, this is largely coming in because of a slight improvement in the operational metrics. Yes, you're right. The asset quality pressures do continue to sustain. Gross NPA ratios still higher. You're seeing some more slippages coming in, or fresh bad loan additions coming in during the quarter, which are causing some pain. A lot of this is coming from the microfinance portfolio. Among the points that the management has pointed out, the board, in fact, there was an analyst call a little earlier today, where they pointed out that they are making good progress on bringing the bank back to stability. Their focus has been to focus on good, strong retail, strong corporate sector loans. They are staying away from anything unsecured. So basically on the microfinance book, they are seeing some amount of slowdown. So that's slowing on the unsecured portfolio. What the bank is also focusing on is improving the compliance and governance culture. There's an important comment considering that just 2 months ago, the bank was sort of grappling with this governance issue specific to its treasury portfolio and then again to its microfinance book. A lot of accounting gaps were found. The CEO of the bank stepped down. The deputy CEO stepped down. So a whole host of events have happened at the bank. And now, of course, a committee of executives is running it with the board overseeing all the developments. Another important point that the board mentioned during this analyst call was that they have made good progress on the appointment of the new CEO. Names have gone to the RBI, and the RBI is looking at these names that the board has submitted, and they will come up with a new CEO soon. And once this new CEO comes into the bank, some long-term strategic decisions and strategic goals will be decided and implemented. This is something that Sunil Mehta, the chairman of the bank, said during this analyst call.
Right, Vishwanath Nair, thanks so much for that very crucial update. IndusInd Bank back in black. We are also being joined by Avin Gorakar, Director Research Profit Mart Securities, and we're going to be joined shortly by Mayuresh Joshi as well. Avinash, good evening. Welcome to NDTV Profit. Thank you so much for joining us and for your time. IndusInd Bank posting a strong profit turnaround this quarter. What do you think were the main drivers behind the strong performance compared to the previous quarter's pretty large loss?
Yeah, I think numbers have been slightly better, but I think asset quality still continues to be under pressure. And I think, the markets would obviously like to ensure that this sustainability in performance is seen for the next 2 to 3 quarters before some significant re-rating happens. As Vishwanath mentioned, the microfinance book still continues to be under a little bit of stress. And I think most analysts are not very sure and a little apprehensive about the kind of asset quality there. Most importantly, once the new CEO comes in, I think the new direction what the bank will take in terms of asset quality, in terms of growth, because I think in the previous 1 or 2 quarters, there have been a lot of exits. Key managerial persons have stepped down. So I think the markets would now like to look at what is the kind of roadmap for the company going ahead. I think it's a good beginning, but typically if you ask me whether the stock would be re-rated by these numbers, it would take a little bit of time, because markets would definitely like to know what is the sustainability of these numbers. But net, overall numbers have been in line. I think numbers have been much better than the March quarter, so that's a good sign. But I think this needs to be consistently maintained, and hopefully the microfinance book also needs to grow, because any asset quality pain there could mean that provisions would increase in the coming quarter.
Avinash, Vishwanath here. If you were to look at the numbers that the bank has reported, net interest income is up 52% year on year, but also other income, that's mostly what is driving this quarter's profitability. And this largely is coming because of trading gains, I would assume. So that is not a very sustainable number, right, on a regular basis.
No, it's not a sustainable number, and that's the reason I believe that, this kind of number is not going to re-rate the stock tomorrow. I think markets would obviously like to see more operational kind of number metrics to improve. Only then, you could see a significant amount of re-rating. And I think one more quarter of numbers, probably solid operational numbers, Vishwanath, would possibly give little more confidence to the investors here, because clearly, until the new CEO comes in, managing director comes in, market does not have a clue that who's going to handle this troubled ship, because there have been so many asset quality concerns. So I think, the new MD who comes in is going to have a big challenge going forward. But definitely, I think only once he comes in, we could understand what is the thought process and what is the kind of growth strategy which the bank puts in place. So I think maybe another 1 quarter or 2 quarters, the stock would consolidate. I think you're right in saying the other income number is definitely not something which is sustainable. And to that extent, the market would not give it a kind of a big thumbs up.
Okay. Also on the microfinance side, now when the analysts on that call were asking the management whether the pain seems to be over, they were not willing to stick to that point. They said that things are so uncertain at this point in time that what we're telling this month may not hold next month. In such a scenario, is there a case to take a position in IndusInd Bank at all?
No, I don't think. I think I've been saying this long along on your channel that I would say that at this point of time, it's better not to catch a falling knife. We would be a little apprehensive and a little cautious after all these events. So I think, it's better that we get some clarity and some conviction before we could say that convincingly that, all the worst is already, penned in the price. I think if the microfinance book gets a little bit, more spoiled, I think it would further upset, the stock price.
Right. Avinash, do you believe that this growth trend in core earnings is sustainable in the coming quarters?
No, I think, if you look at all the remaining banks and if you look at IndusInd Bank, it looks a little surprising because, I think if you look at Axis Bank or if you look at some of the public sector banks like Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, typically, I think, growth had slowed down. So I think we'll have to see consistency, as I mentioned to you, whether this will be possible in the September quarter, because if it doesn't happen, then I think the markets would again, derate the counter. And I think, as I said, now the ability of the management to come out of this problem and to convince the market that everything is well, the balance sheet is cleaned up, I think growth momentum will continue, I think may take at least a couple of quarters.
Right, Avinash, thank you so much for that. And Vishwanath, thank you so much for bringing us all of those updates. Let's just quickly get you an excerpt of the con call. On to that now.
Slippages, though elevated from normalized levels, have declined meaningfully quarter on quarter. We expect slippages to stabilize by quarter 3, may extend to quarter 4, but the legacy stress subsides and new disbursements continue to perform steadily. Looking ahead, corporate slippages are expected to improve, supported by a healthier early delinquency profile. Our combined SMA-1 and SMA-2 book has declined to 14 bips from 24 bips a quarter back.
You heard IndusInd Bank on call, Soumitra Sen, the head of consumer banking, speaking of the bank's expectation of stabilizing slippages in their MFI portfolio and also improving their corporate slippages.